Hi everyone, it's Helen here at Dragonfly House. Oh my god, the sunshine is glorious. I can barely see you, but wanted to hop on and say hi. I know it's been a little bit of time, but here's the next Rainbow Warrior video. We're still on Vishuddha, which is our throat chakra, all around communication, the color sky blue, and that's really what I wanted to focus on today, was communication. Now, some of you know, as well as doing the yoga and the healing work, I also am a change in communications consultant. So really, this should be a good topic for me to talk about. But what I wanted to talk about was how communication, people sometimes don't understand that there really is two halves to this. So the first half is what the message you put out, and the second half is the person receiving that. And it sounds really basic, but sometimes we forget that actually it's not really necessarily about what we say, how we say it. It can also be about how receptive the other person is. And one of my very recent lessons, which I'm still integrating, has been around how we put energy out with our messages. So if you want to communicate to somebody, thinking about what your intention is really important. And this can be quite difficult in day to day. You know, we're quite often in the moment dealing with something's come up. You can feel the emotion in you, maybe in the other person, and actually figuring out what your intention is in a conversation is can be quite difficult. What I've been thinking about is holding an intention for communicating with a person generally. So, you know, like going through all the key people in your life and who is it that you are speaking to or communicating with on a regular basis, and how is it, you know, what is your intention when you communicate with them? What is the key messages you're trying to get across? Now, it's not that you have to say those to them, but so long as you're clear what you're saying, that can really help when you come across a situation where maybe emotions are running a bit higher. And one of the intentions you might have is simply to hold that person with their highest self in mind. So simply see them from a really loving place. And that's a really good place to start. The other thing that I think is important that's really come to the fore for me recently is the energy that goes alongside your messages. There's a million ways to say the same thing, but what people actually receive is the energy that goes with it. So when you're sending a message, the words you might be saying might be one thing, but the intonation, the power of them, etc., is actually dictated by the energy you put out with that. And for example, if you're feeling a little bit frustrated, and maybe you've got some really long-running underlying frustrations in life that you haven't quite solved, they actually do leak out in communication, and that can really impact the way other people receive messages. And sometimes, if you're not careful, those messages which are sent with love can be received as a punch by the other person if they're quite sensitive. So yeah, being clear on what energy you're sending with the message can also be important. The timing of those messages is really important. And then really moving on to being the role of a receiver, right? So in relationships, we're never in one role or the other usually. You know, we're usually both. And being a receiver of information can be quite difficult. Obviously, we've got stuff going on inside us, emotions coming up, thoughts going on. We might not be 100% focused on what we're actually, you know, working on. The conversation that you're really having in that moment. So how can we then receive better? Firstly, it's being open to people. And again, holding them with the intention of receiving from their highest self. The other thing I do is I literally try and ignore who the message is coming from and maybe how I feel about them, or you know, any sort of past history, and just look at the message. Like in any given moment, anybody speaking to you or communicating with you could be the voice that you need to hear. It may be God or angels or your guides trying to communicate with you. And I had a really clear example of this yesterday, where I had a call with a lady who got in touch sort of out of the blue, and we had this amazing conversation where actually the messages she had for me were incredibly powerful and in the moment were exactly what I needed to hear. And yeah, just being open to the fact that even a complete stranger can give you the words that you need to hear. So yeah, just not attaching, not taking things personally when somebody gives you a message, and just listening to the actual communication. I think the other thing is, as a receiver, you know, if somebody is communicating in you know, perhaps an overly powerful or aggressive way, it's just allowing that energy to pass through you. And that's a bit of an art, you know. You don't have to get caught up in the other person's emotion that they're sending you. You can stay in your own center, and practicing that when you feel a little bit unsettled in a communication situation is, you know, it takes some sort of awareness and stuff. But I encourage you, you know, if you can feel your blood beginning to boil, or, you know, anything like that, just see if you can breathe, and just see if you can think, oh, I'm just going to allow this to move through me, because it's not necessarily coming from me. And the aim of communication really as well is to transfer information from one person to another. And the way we transfer that information is with energy. So in effect, we're transferring energy from one person to another. So just respecting that, like, you know, the person is giving you something and you are receiving it, or the other way around. Maybe you're giving something, but the other person has to receive it, and maybe they don't want it. That's the truth. So it's just trying to balance all of those things and just be a little bit more compassionate to one another. Particularly right now, the astrology is a bit crazy. Emotions are quite high or low, actually, right now. It can be either extreme. So yeah, just treating each other with a little bit more love in the way we talk to each other. And also just keeping that bigger picture in mind, that we're all humans doing our best, having a human experience, sometimes in uncomfortable, painful bodies. And we never really know what's going on with someone under the surface completely. So just to remember, you know, there are battles being fought that we don't necessarily see. So just send each other love. I'm sending you love. Yeah, I've been... the next Rainbow Warrior course, I think we're going to start in September. Super excited about that. It will be 7 weeks, 7 places only, which is super exciting. And I'm going to do an offer price of £777 to sign up. So each week we'll be moving through the chakras and helping you realign those on all levels. So we'll be looking at physical, emotional, mental and spiritual, because one of my strong beliefs is you can't actually really completely tackle one without all of the others coming into balance as well. So we'll be doing all of that. So if you want any more info on that, do get in touch. And yeah, I'll look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care.